From the phone that's probably in your pocket right now to that giant TV on your wall, chances are you're looking at an OLED screen. I mean, they're everywhere, right? And they're famous for those stunning, deep blacks and vibrant colors. But have you ever stopped to wonder how these super thin displays are actually made? It is a fascinating story, a tale of microscopic precision and some really brilliant problem solving. So, let's get into it.
All right, first up, a quick refresher on what makes OLEDs so special. For decades, LCDs worked kind of like tiny window shutters. They had this big bright backlight that was always on, and a layer of liquid crystals would twist and turn to either block or let that light pass through some color filters. The problem? Well, some light always leaked through. You just couldn't block it all, which turned true black into more of a dark gray. OLEDs? A total game changer, because they are self-emissive. Every single pixel is its own tiny little light bulb that can be turned on or, and this is the crucial part, turned completely off. And that one simple difference, making your own light versus just blocking someone else's, that's everything. When a pixel can turn completely off, you get perfect inky black. This creates what we call an infinite contrast ratio, which basically means the colors just pop with this incredible vibrancy and accuracy. And hey, because there's no need for a bulky backlight, the screens can be way thinner, lighter, and more energy efficient. Plus, it unlocks a whole world of futuristic designs, from flexible phones to transparent TVs.
So, how do we actually build these things? In this explainer, we're going to take a journey through the whole manufacturing process. We'll kick things off with how mobile screens are made. Then we'll uncover a massive problem that stopped this method from working on TVs. After that, we'll explore the ingenious solution they came up with, see how they stacked the tech for more power, and finally, look at how these displays are finished and protected.
Okay, let's start with the screen that's probably closest to you right now, your phone. Making mobile OLED screens is really an art form. It's like painting with light, but on a scale so small, it's honestly hard to even wrap your head around. The key tool for making these phone screens is something called a fine metal mask, or FMM for short. And the absolute best way to think about it is as an incredibly precise stencil. We're talking about a sheet of metal, thinner than a human hair, that's just perforated with millions of microscopic holes. Each hole corresponds exactly to where a subpixel needs to go on the screen. Its entire job is to make sure the right color-emitting organic material lands in exactly the right spot and nowhere else.
And the process itself? Oh, it's incredibly meticulous. Picture this. Inside a giant vacuum chamber, you start with the backplane. That's all the tiny electronics that control each pixel. Then, after some common layers are added, the real magic begins. They bring in a mask just for the red subpixels, align it perfectly, and deposit the red material. Then, they swap it out for the green mask, shift it just a few microns over, and deposit the green. And then they do it all over again for blue. It is a painstaking process of literally painting millions of individual lights one color at a time.
So this FMM method works beautifully for phones. You'd think for TVs, you just make it bigger, right? Well, that's where our story takes a really fascinating turn. This is what we call the big screen problem.
I mean, it's the logical question, isn't it? This method is precise, it's proven, so why couldn't manufacturers just scale up that fine metal mask for, say, a 55 or a 77-inch television?
The answer is a force we all deal with every single day, but one that becomes a massive, massive engineering headache at this scale: gravity.
Okay, here's the crucial point. When you stretch that ultra-thin sheet of metal across a giant TV panel, it sags in the middle under its own weight, just droops down. This creates a gap. So instead of depositing these crisp, perfect little dots of color, the materials spread out and mix together. Imagine trying to spray paint with a stencil that's floating an inch off the paper. You just get a blurry mess, right? Well, that one problem completely ruled out the FMM method for TVs. It just wasn't going to work.
So since painting tiny little dots wasn't an option, engineers had to come up with a completely different philosophy for making TVs. And this is where it gets really clever. Welcome to the white light solution.
Instead of trying to deposit those tiny, individual red, green, and blue lights, the TV method does the complete opposite. It creates one giant, uniform sheet of high-quality white light across the entire panel. So with this approach, the color isn't made at the pixel level by the OLED material itself. No, it's created by passing that pure white light through a color filter that's already on the screen. It's almost like a high-tech version of the old LCDs, but this time with a perfect light source behind it.
And what this does is make the manufacturing process so much simpler.
You start with a backplane that already has the red, green, and blue color filters printed right onto it. Then, using what's called an open mask, which is basically just a big frame, you deposit all the layers needed to make white light across the entire surface at once. No precise alignment, no swapping masks, and critically, no sagging.
But of course, this created a brand new challenge. To power a massive TV screen, you need an incredibly bright and efficient source of white light. And that's where the next big innovation comes in: stacking for power.
So, the first attempt was pretty straightforward: a single stack of organic layers to produce white light. And it worked, but it just wasn't good enough. It was really inefficient, meaning it used way too much electricity, produced too much heat, and it just couldn't get bright enough for what you'd want in a living room TV. It was pretty much a dead end.
The real breakthrough was the two-stacked OLED, sometimes called a tandem OLED. This is amazing. Engineers figured out how to put two complete OLED devices directly on top of each other. They're connected by this miraculous little thing called a charge generation layer, or CGL, which very cleverly injects charges into both stacks at the same time. You are literally getting two light sources in the physical space of one. This was the game changer.
And the result was absolutely staggering. A two-stack structure isn't just twice as good, it is over 3 times as efficient as a single stack. This was the giant leap they needed to make large-screen OLED TVs viable, delivering all the brightness we want without burning a ton of power. This is the technology that powers most of the OLED TVs on the market right now.
But hey, why stop at 2? For the absolute highest-end TVs that need extreme brightness for things like HDR content, manufacturers now use a 3-stack design. And the structure here is really smart. They stack 2 blue emitting units with 1 yellow-green unit. This not only boosts the brightness even more, but it also helps extend the display's lifespan by sharing the workload on those less durable blue emitters. Pretty clever.
So, we've made our pixels one way or another, either through the FMM stencil or the OLED sheet. But the organic materials inside are incredibly sensitive. So the final step is all about protection. And it's this step that really unlocks the future.
You see, OLED materials will degrade super quickly if they're exposed to even tiny amounts of oxygen or water. To protect them, there are 2 main methods. For rigid TVs, they use something called frit sealing. They put a glass lid on top, and a laser melts a seal of glass powder right around the edge, creating a perfect, airtight barrier. But for phones, you need flexibility. So here they use thin film encapsulation, where they deposit multiple alternating layers of organic and inorganic material directly onto the device itself. This creates a barrier that is incredibly thin and flexible, yet still keeps everything out.
And it's these advanced manufacturing and encapsulation techniques that really enable the incredible designs we see today. Frit sealing gave us those curved and impossibly thin wallpaper GVs. And thin film encapsulation? Well, that's the magic behind every single foldable and rollable phone out there, allowing the screen itself to bend and flex without breaking or letting the elements in.
So there you have it. From one core technology, 2 completely different manufacturing paths emerged. One for our small screens, and a totally different one for the large ones, each brilliantly solving its own unique physical challenges. It's just an amazing feat of engineering that's put these beautiful displays in our hands and in our homes, which really just leaves one final question to think about. Having mastered glass and plastic, what surface are we going to put a display on next?